Arry the Stag.
Hey guys, welcome back to Arry the Stag. TR Tony sat outside the front of the house with, as you can see behind me, UES 591S parked up in the sunshine. A few weeks ago we had quite a lot of ingress of water, so just kind of a good tootle around the car today. Obviously we can't go out, but I just wanted to see where this water was coming from. Perhaps just replace the carpets that we took out to make sure it's nice and dry. Also, I've had a message from Alan, because obviously we can't get to see him, but he's sent me a few photographs on his progress, and also he'd like to just have one or two shots of the interior of the boot, just so he can make sure the panel fit in his welding is going to plan. So by the wonders of modern technology, we can go see Alan, although physically not there. We can get some photographs and just exchange messages on how progress is going with it. But let's just go and have a quick look and see what we can see. Okay, so we've got out all the carpets, as I say a little while ago. They've been hanging up in the carriage, draining of water. They look pretty new, to be fair. I don't think they're that old, these carpets. If you have a look underneath, they look like they have been recently changed. They are now all nice and dry, which is good. And if we come up to the car, perhaps we can just see what has been the problem. I suspect that some of the water has been going in through here between the rubber and the back of the door. You can just see there is a bit of a gap, so when it's been raining the water's been getting through there, I'm fairly sure. I have checked the drain holes of the door and they all look to be clear and tidy, so sometimes the water can actually ingress through this if it's worn. The rubber, if it's actually worn off, the water can get through. Some of it will get through there anyway, inevitably, but the design of the door is such that you have drain holes at the bottom, which means that the water will drain out from underneath here, thus out of the car and not actually in it. Although here, as you can see, I have removed the carpets recently, and with this car they don't have the holes that seems to be a variety of schools of thought on these here. Normally there should be plates here. If you look at the previous Alan the Welder video, you'll see that there are some removable plates held in with a bit of mastic. Schools of thought are that this was for drainage on the one hand, because it is a convertible. Water does gather down here, and also at the back of the car as well. Here you can see there is a little bit of rust here. You can just make that out, and someone has drilled a hole down here. This should actually be another plate drilled through with a plate over the top to keep it all tickety-boo, and you can see there water has been gathering, which isn't good. So one school of thought is that these plates are for drainage. The other school of thought, and thank you for the feedback from one or two of you, is that these were holes through which you could take the arm of the spot welder, such that if you're welding panels here, I guess, that you could get one arm outside the car and then the other arm inside the car to make the spot welds that would have been required. But yeah, I'll be very interested if anybody's actually got a definitive answer, because we do seem to have some different ideas on what those were for. Either way, the water was gathering in here, it was slopping about, carpets were getting wet, which obviously isn't good, and we needed to make sure that they were taken out and dried off. And obviously with the recent sunshine we've had, it's been very good in terms of drying it all out. Just one other thing whilst I'm talking, I do have another seal replacement, and the seal replacement needs to go in here across the line of the roof line. This rubber here is actually quite perished, and we do need to replace that. So I suspect some water would be force fed through here at speed if it was raining, and so therefore we just need to change that over. A little bit in trepidation about that, because some of this looks a little bit rusty and a little bit fixed and bodged, so it could be a can of worms when we start taking this off. But it's a job I do need to do, because you know it clearly needs doing. The other thing, just pointing this out, and I've noticed, is that I'm not sure this window has been put in properly. There's no rubber seal on the outside. It just looks like a line of mastic that's been put in behind what was the original seal here. And if you come down here, you can see they are quite cracked and knackered. I think these the original rubber seal has been there for some time. I suspect that the outside, which should lip over here, has long since gone, and someone's trying to bodge it with mastic, which again isn't good for rain seal, and actually it is still a bit tacky as well, so it does actually come off on your hands and therefore on your clothes, which Arry the Nag is not very happy about. But yeah, all in all, there's a number of things to investigate. The other thing to look for, I understand, is to check the grill and where the fan is. Underneath the bonnet there's obviously a hole, and there is a drain that goes all the way through. Maybe I can show you that later. I've got a fan unit and that drains to the floor. If that's blocked, or if the rubbers in here are US, then it will drain into the cabin under the dashboard under here somewhere, and you'll see it on the floor pan again there. So lots of different areas to investigate, but yeah, it's one that we can continue to look at and see how we can improve it and get it fixed. One idea would be to get these rubbers changed, because they are a bit tired and exhausted, and maybe if they were plumper, the seal between the door and the frame and the window would be better than it currently is, which I think if you look carefully you can see there's some clear blue sky through there, which isn't good. Now moving to the back of the car, Alan the welder definitely wants some pics of the inside of the boot. The car's looking really good in its bright red paint today. One job I do have to tackle is this bumper on the back. I've got some special metal polish that I'm sure will bring that back, but you can see where it's pitted, there is rust coming through, so I'm just going to need to polish that off and see what we can do to improve on that. Clearly that's not a desirable thing to have, especially on show days. In the boot, where we got to before lockdown, was Alan very kindly giving us back all the suspension parts, which I was going to take up to Treston's to get shot blasted, cleaned up and powder coated or painted to make sure that was all tickety-boo. But again, they've not gone anywhere since the day that we were all grounded. This is a frost cover for the windscreens, which is very handy. Don't think we need that now. I think we're out of the frost season. And yeah, these are the various subframe parts. That's the front cross beam that obviously goes on the front of the car. This is the rear carrier, and that's where your differential and your prop shaft engage through that line here. And this is at the back of the car. These are the big bushes that hold your suspension on at the back of the car underneath, with the big bolts behind the driver's seat and behind the passenger seat as well. And okay, I'll just need to take those out so I can photograph properly what Alan wants us to see, or wants to see, to enable him to weld the boot better. Alright, so having removed the spare wheel, which actually doesn't look too bad, the tread on there looks quite good. I'm quite impressed with that as a spare, and it's original Stag alloy, as you can see. The boards could have probably seen better days, but they are well used, and they still work, which is good. Someone's put a bit of a bracket across there, maybe a top tip to stop the boards bowing when they're actually in the boot under weight. And if we come into here, you can see here is the petrol tank I repaired a few weeks ago, and seems to be holding good. There's no smell of petrol in here at all. Many of you know I'm a bit of a nutter about these here tanks. They do tend to fail at the front end of that unit, but this seems okay. We had some teething problems putting it back in, just in terms of filling it up. I hadn't actually done up this bracket that well or that tightly when I put it back together, resulting in overfilling of the tank, resulting in over flooding of the boot with petrol, which wasn't very good, but I did manage to siphon it all off in the end. Took out about 2 gallons, I think it was, in the end, and it seems to have settled down. It's dry and clean, which is good. Probably just needs a little bit of fettling with things like this is the petrol line here. That needs to be properly engaged into that hole, otherwise that's a safety issue, so we need to look at that a bit later on. And then underneath, yeah, we're looking quite clean. This is really on the details at the back of the boot now. This car has been resprayed. It was originally Inca yellow, but hopefully this gives Alan a bit of an idea of the lines involved on this side of the car, enabling him to do the weld correctly, and hopefully that will help. This is the rear valance that I know he's put in for us, and hopefully that makes some sense doing a full 360 of the unit. And there we are, that's the fuel pump. Looks like this has had a new fuel pump at some point in the recent past. Looking quite clean and tidy in there. No rust at all to be seen, which is great. Obviously it needs a little bit of work to fine tune it and fettle it. There you can see, I think, a hint of Inca poking through. But that's okay. The majority of the car looks nice and clean, but I guess with UNY 49M we won't have the problem with the showing through the paint, because it will be and has been back to bare metal, as you know, so it's going to be ground up inky yellow when we've got it done. So that's the boot. I'll send this off to Alan now and hope that that helps him formulate his master plan. Alright guys, so hopefully you found that useful. Just a quick once around UES 591S. Amazing kind of how many little jobs gather up when you're getting under the bonnet and getting under the boot and having a good look round. But I'm sure we'll get there. We'll get some good work done. It is still running, and it's nice to fire up the engine from time to time, which is great. And now Alan has hopefully some indication of what's required to make the boot inside welds absolutely right. So that's great. So even though we can't go see him, it's good that he's now had that input, and obviously is happily working away. He works alone, so there's nobody with him, so I guess that's okay to do that, which is really good. Good stuff guys. Okay, well thanks for watching as ever. We have 1 or 2 videos at the end of this film today from individuals who've sent in their videos for their cars, so thank you for those. Keep them coming please. We can always include them on future videos, but in the meantime I'll wish you well wherever you are. Keep safe, and we'll see you online on Arry The Stag very soon. All the best guys. Cheers for now. Bye.
Right, here we are. We're off for a drive. Set the garage floor up. We're off to the driveway. Still, have you got the GPS? Okay, type in the driveway. Everyone's going there at the moment, I believe. Going backwards, get buckled up. Buckled up. Oh yeah, coming too safe. Here we go. Keep our social distancing. Arry The Stag!
And don't forget to go to our website to get your free Arry The Stag badge of honour. Just sign up on the website and we'll send you one free of charge.